To me, teaching is an expedient, but I do not teach external signs. The ignorant, because of their attachment to existence, seize on signified and signifying. So it seems like it's the Buddha that's talking here. The Sagatakam began with Mahamiti talking, but I think the Buddha might have taken over a few verses back, but we weren't informed. But he's clearly talking now. So he doesn't teach external signs. This verse is basically about words, about concepts and ideas, which is gone into more fully in a few verses' time, in verse 25 I think. The Buddha's not talking about things out there, external signs. Signified and signifying, these are words and what they represent. So a word signifies something. A word signifies something which is signified. The word mouse signifies this, so this is what is signified. So the Buddha uses words. The Buddha did a lot of teaching. And when you read a Buddhist text, you want to make sense of it. You think, well, what's this all about? What is meant by this word? What is meant by that word? And this is wonderful fodder for scholars and all the rest of it. And I must admit, even I balk somewhat when I read sections in Professor Suzuki's books about Buddhist philosophy and Buddhist psychology, because we want to avoid all that. We don't want to be getting caught up in philosophy and psychology. It's great that there have been the scholars and translators who've gone over all this stuff and done their best to make sense of it. But we must take over now. We can thank them for their efforts, and we must reclaim these texts for our own spiritual understanding. When I was preparing the previous series of videos on Patanjali's Yoga Sutras, I was wondering if I might be able to get some funding for it. And I wrote off to somebody who was associated with a well-known school, and I got a very nice email back pointing out that it's very difficult to get funding unless I'm associated with a religious organisation or an academic organisation. And I thought about this. Would it be quite nice to study it? Maybe I could write a thesis about it. And I thought, well, no, this isn't what it's about. This isn't what these videos are about. They're not about contributing to some religious point of view or adding to the massive bulk of scholarly expositions. These texts were meant to be used. They weren't written or constructed to be analysed by scholars. They were to be used for our own spiritual enlightenment. We have to reclaim these texts. This is what these videos are about. I'm not pontificating from a scholarly point of view. I'm not caught up with any religious fervour or wanting to promote a religious perspective. These are meant for you, for me. These texts are meant for you and me, to turn us to the truth, to awaken us, to prompt us to awakening. They need to be reclaimed by anybody and everybody who's interested in the grand perspective of their own existence. This is what these videos are about. They're not more material to mull over. They're not more material to cause contention. They're either helpful or they're not. They're either useful or not. You will either use them or you won't. Nothing is being sold here. And this is what the Buddha is saying. He wasn't selling anything. He says the ignorant, because of their attachment to existence, they believe in this world out there. And they believe that the Buddha is giving them information about this world out there. And many Buddhists believe this. This is why they feel they have to behave in a certain way with respect to the world out there. They believe that somehow the Buddha was teaching that everything is interrelated. So therefore, the Buddhists should go and get involved in some green peace movement or something. That's not what the Buddha was talking about. He wasn't talking about ideas. He wasn't promoting a philosophy. And it's quite disappointing to see Buddhists doing this. It's okay for them to do it. They can go and do their prison visits. They can get involved in ecological matters. They can get involved in the promotion of vegetarianism and non-violence and all the rest of it. There's nothing wrong with that. But you shouldn't do it in the name of Buddhism. That's not what Buddhism's about. Buddhism's about divorcing us from what is not real and marrying us to what is real. This understanding seems to have been lost, but I think it's there in Zen, and it's very fresh in Zen, but it's there in Mahayana Buddhism in general. So the Buddha does not teach external signs. He's not teaching us about how the world works and the best way of behaving in the world, because that's to do with discrimination. And this is very much the theme. In order to divorce ourselves from our conventional understanding of the world, we have to break the contract of the discriminating mind, which we normally listen to tell us what is real and what is not real.